1960s, London was the capital of the world, and two men ran that capital. Two hoodlums, two brothers, twins, as different as they were alike, bonded by a lust for power, bonded by blood.
Who loves you, eh? That's right, Mummy loves you.
These are the Kray twins, Ronald and Reginald. You know, me and my brother, we're going to rule London.
The Krays are gangsters.
My question is your last name Kray?
Listen to yourself, Rod. You're fucking nuts.
I know you're one of them, Kray. Nothing to myself. These boys are special. 'Cause you scare the shit out of me, boys. Wonderful.
Ronald Kray possesses possibly the soundest mind I've seen in 26 years of psychiatric practice. The left ties integrity down the toilet.
The Queen would survive, but God saved the rest of us.
We could have had a fabulous life before all these murders. We had it made and we could have gone to better things. You two would have been somebody. You was fading life. Now everything's gone. You're grown up. Everything. Mother, father, me, you. We're gonna go. I know we are. Everything's finished.
See, that's where it all began from when I was children, really. I mean, when I was boxing, they were very, very good. They won everything. People thought if I could beat Reggie and Ronnie, even when they were children, then we'll have a name. And they never did win. So they kept winning, and as they got older, the same thing happened. People wanted to put the twins back on the floor. And so as it went on, it got worse, obviously, the violence, and they kept winning. And that's how it all began. They weren't looking around to be Jack the Lads or be villains. It happened.
The Krays worked hard to appear as local boys made good, but they were murderers and extortionists. They made sure cameras were on hand to help them gloss over the dark side of their activities. The twins killed people in cold blood, but the images that remain in the public's mind are of Ronnie and Reggie giving money to charity, of Reggie posing with the stars, of Ronnie hobnobbing with politicians like Lord Boothby, and the twins immortalised by the fashionable photographer David Bailey. But in the underworld, the twins were known for what they were, and as in their early boxing days, their reputation preceded them. Albert Donahue became a soldier at Fort Valence, the nickname for the Krays family home at number 178. Like much of the East End, it's now been demolished, but even in its notorious heyday, it hardly resembled the fortress of Ronnie's fantasies. Here, he and his brother held court and presided over the firm's board meetings. From the front room of the two up, two down, they ran a criminal empire. The first time he set eyes on Ronnie, it was obvious to the policeman who was eventually to jail the twins that he was playing the part of an American gangster.
So was Evie.
And I realised that a car had drawn up immediately outside the door and looked outside. It's a big American-type car. And a guy stepped out of the car, put with his hand in his pocket, as though he had a gun in his pocket. And he sort of swept the street, looking up and down and making sure that there was no one inside, and then gave a signal, and the back door opened, and out stepped Ronnie Kray. And I was amazed because he was dressed for all the world like a 1930s Chicago gangster. He had a long, long cashmere coat that reached to his ankles, tied in a loose belt at the waist. His hair was greased and parted, and he wore his glasses. And then he swept across the pavement and into the pub, and he looked to me like Al Capone without his fedora.
Well, I was known as Reggie's man. I mean, he didn't use words like minder, bodyguard, that sort of thing. Just, I was Reggie's man.
Did you have lots of money in your pocket?
Well, apart from the twins' pension, if you did any business with them, if you actually went on a bit of business and there was money involved, you got a slice of that. Plus I could eat and drink for nothing, and I'd be getting my clothes made to measure next to nothing. You needed a car, you just went to a car site and frightened the governor and pulled one off the front for a couple of weeks and run it into the ground. Hardly any expenses. I was then put in charge of collecting the weekly payments from different clubs and places. And from that I would pay out the pensions. I'd be told who to pay. And if somebody was out of favour, they wouldn't get paid that week. You know? There was no fabulous fortunes. You know?
Protection was one of the firm's main sources of income. People paid up because they were afraid. The twins couldn't afford to let their reputation for violence slip. That reputation usually ensured that their victims didn't complain to the law. Detective Inspector Nipper Reed had to sit back and wait for witnesses who would dare to speak out against the gangsters. In 1965, some 3 years before he finally arrested them, he thought he had a breakthrough. London club owner Hugh McCowan complained to the police about the protection racket. The twins were charged with demanding money with menaces. They wanted 50% of the profits from his club, the Hideaway. People who knew the twins and their methods were not surprised when they were acquitted after witnesses retracted their evidence. There's no question about what prevented witnesses giving evidence to suggest that the Krays were involved, and that was terror. Just absolute fear and terror, because the Krays generated that by their threats, by intimidation, and by their violence. People were openly saying, they won't be in long, they'll get away with it, they'll get out. And so it happened. This gave them even more confidence, even more arrogance, even more certainty that they were the kings of the underworld in the East End and that nothing could change that. The twins used the press to capitalise on their release.
How much does the trial cost you?
It's cost us roughly £8,000.
And how do you feel about that?
Most of them don't like the idea of spending that money for no reason for them.
Does it leave you broke, or how does it leave you?
It doesn't leave us broke, but at the same time it's a lot of money to have to pay out when money's innocent, you know.
A lot of people have got the impression from this trial that Clubland, London, is very tough. Do you think it is? You run a couple of clubs.
Well, in all clubs you get an occasional drunk, you know, and sometimes have to be slung out, and that's why there's dawn and that. I suppose it's like Clubland all over the world, really. It's just the same as... I don't suppose it can be that bad. People won't go to them, really, would they?
Ronald, what do you think about Clubland in London?
Well, I think most clubs are very respectable, you know, and I don't think there's any trouble at all in them, except occasionally.
You knew if you were doing wrong, and you knew if it warranted some sort of comeback, so you were expecting it. And I know cases where people were upset when they didn't get seen to, because it made them feel small, insignificant, you know. A scar, chip mark, they would wear them with pride, you know. Look at me, I've got a cut. It was a sign that you were a tough guy.
They commanded a hell of a lot of respect. The name was very, very well known and very, very feared. I can assure you of that. Very feared.
On March the 5th, 1969, identical twins, Reginald and Ronald Kray, were sentenced to life imprisonment. They were 35 years old. Summing up, Justice Melford Stevenson said, "I'm not going to waste words on you. In my view, society has earned a rest from your activities, and I recommend that you be held for at least 30 years.